Sup, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, and today I just wanted to review Drive-By Truckers concert that I recently saw here in San Antonio, Texas, at the Aztec Theater in November of 2023. Um, Probably I don't know. I've seen Drive-By Truckers dozens and dozens of times. They seem to hit Texas a couple times every year. They'll do a couple shows in Austin. They'll do maybe every 2 or 3. I think it's been 3 or 4 years since I last saw them in San Antonio. This little town between San Antonio and Austin named Green usually gets a bunch of shows at this place called Green Hall, which is fantastic. So we get a lot of drive-by truckers. And usually, if it's in Austin, you get your typical all over the map drive-by trucker show. If it's in Green, we usually get like a deep cut craziness show. If it's in San Antonio, we usually get a lot of new songs and then not as many deep cuts. It just seems to be the bane or the blessing of San Antonio, no matter who comes through. This show was all over the map in the best way possible. They're getting old. Like it's been a couple years since, no, it hasn't been maybe a year since I last saw them. But I was much closer than I was last time. They just seem like they're getting old, but they are still just absolutely killing it. Still have that 5-piece. The drummer, the bass player, Jay Gonzalez on extra guitar and organ and doing everything. Mike and Patterson still up front. And it was a fantastic show. They brought out like a set list early on, and the set list just said 11 p.m. ends sharp or something. It was just a reminder as to what time they had to end. There wasn't an actual set list, as they were calling audibles the whole night. And a couple times I felt what was coming on. There was a run in the middle of the show where they did Box of Spiders, and Patterson did his little speech, and he kept talking about like Prohibition. How his grandpa could drink anybody under the table back in Prohibition. And I was just thinking to myself, Cooley's there, kind of, playing the music as Patterson's like giving his speech. And every time he said Prohibition, I could just feel like Cooley going, I got a Prohibition song. I got a Prohibition song. The minute Box of Spiders ended, it was just like, duh, right into Where the Devil Don't Stay. Just a blistering version of that. There are going to be spoilers. I'm going to go over the set list right now. Because if you've seen Drive-By Truckers, they play a different set almost every night. They definitely have some pockets of songs that I've noticed on other set lists that they kind of are playing together. I think this did a good job of mixing up kind of those pockets and giving us a lot of flavors. Energy was fantastic. Opening act, a guitarist named Early James. It was him and a drummer, and he's a guitar player. Finger picking, like really great finger picking style, but he solos, and he's got almost like a Mark Knopfler finger picking type jammy style, but he's a lot more country-esque, very like kind of traditional country type jamming style. Great opening act. If you have a chance to see him, if you're an opening act fan, highly recommend Early James. Kind of a funny stage personality, told some jokes, very comfortable, some really good solos, really high energy opening act. But what we got in San Antonio for the Drive-By Truckers, we got 20 songs, no encore. They played just from started, came on right at 9, ended right at 11, a solid 2-hour show. Opened up with a relatively new song, Maria's Awful Disclosure. And that would be the only new song until that's song number 1. Songs 12 and 13, we'd finally get a couple more relatively new songs, but these are all old classics. Just, they're bringing it. And it really felt like Patterson more than anything was trying to prove something. Every once in a while you get these shows where Cooley's kind of reaching in and trying to prove stuff. This kind of felt like a Patterson show. Not any really, really deep cuts that they're not playing, but just a lot of really good Patterson tracks. So we get Maria's Awful Disclosure. Patterson follows that up with an awesome Living Bubba, one of my favorite Drive-By Trucker songs. We get a Cooley, A Ghost of Most. Then we drop into a Used to Be a Cop. They're definitely kind of rushing that intro a little bit. I remember back in the day when Go-Go Boots first came out, it seemed like that Used to Be a Cop intro. They wrote it for like an extra minute and a half and just kind of let that like simmer for a while. It seemed like they kind of rushed those opening lyrics, but we still got a nice simmering, Used to Be a Cop. Such a fantastic song. Absolutely amazing lyrics. We got a Shit Shots count. Then Patterson it felt like Felt like Patterson wanted something monstrous to happen, and he tore into a Lookout Mountain. And the Lookout Mountain was just like, I don't know, man. It just felt like, yeah, this is a show. Great Lookout Mountain. And then we got kind of a little bit of a little, maybe like, going back, bringing things down a little. We get a really nice when the pin hits the shell. Patterson drops his box of spiders. Cooley's like, we need to bring it back up. We get a fantastic Where the Devil Don't Stay. Patterson drops Tornadoes, which they played last time in San Antonio, and it was also really good back then. Then we get a Women Without Whiskey, one of my all-time favorite moments of any. Two of them, and they both happen almost back-to-back Cooley songs, is when he plays that opening chord to Where the Devil Don't Stay. Dun! You just know what's coming. And anytime he drops those, he plays those opening chords for Women Without Whiskey, and we get that very first bunt, 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 and everybody starts singing along at the end with the Women Without Whiskey. That's not how it goes. Whiskey without women? Women without whiskey? How does that last line go? Whiskey's hard to beat. Yeah, but that's a great sing-along song. And I've never been to a drive-by trucker show where people weren't doing whiskey shots. And so when that song drops, everybody's really excited. Then we got a couple two new songs. The Driver, really good energy on that. That's got a really nice up-tempo feel. They brought that out well. We get an Every Single Storied Flame Out. Again, another kind of upbeat song. Patterson drops of Putting People on the Moon. Another one which feels like it wasn't as drawn out and jammed as they have in the past, but really good Putting People on the Moon. Nice Made Up English Oceans. They did take their time with this one. I think the beginning of Made Up English Oceans is one of my favorite parts of like one of the more recent-y Drive-By Trucker song. Love the lyrics to this song. Anything that has a Rod Stewart shout out in it, you know what I'm talking about. Love those lyrics. We get a Rosemary with the Bible and a Gun, another relatively new song. So we get that. Then we get a One of These Days, which apparently they've been playing quite a lot lately. Nice Cooley song. Let There Be Rock. I also did something at a Blue Oyster Cult concert, but I wasn't 14, I was 15. Marry Me, one of my all-time favorite. And then we close out with an absolutely epic Grand Canyon. Would obviously have rather heard like an Angels in Fuselage or something like that. But the Grand Canyon was good. They jammed it out nicely at the end. They really felt it. It seemed like, what's his name was kind of going on a rant at the end and kind of going off. That was pretty cool. Patterson was kind of going on a rant at the end, just kind of yelling things and kind of dragging it out. This is one of those songs, I think they started it at like 10. They had a giant clock on the side of the stage. They started it at like 10:48 and managed to just like drag it out all the way to 11. Like they couldn't fit another song in. So they just really dragged this sucker out. But it worked and it felt good and it was a good night. So anyways, yeah, great show. I'm a teacher. I'm a kindergarten teacher. I've been teaching for 3 decades now. I ran into 9 former parents, 3 former students, all of who are in college now, and then one of my after-school teachers. After I ran into all these parents, which was kind of stressful, I'm at a show, I'm enjoying myself. It's weird to run into parents, though. They're all enjoying themselves, and I got a shot and a beer out of it, so I'm not complaining, actually. Saw 3 former students, which was crazy. But it's cool that they're all going to see the Drive-By Truckers. Then afterwards, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was crazy. I had to take pictures. I don't like taking pictures. I was walking home, and one of my coworkers was sitting outside at a bar, just having a beer, like on the sidewalk of San Antonio. So stopped and had a beer. So it was an all-around great night. But anyways, if you're a Drive-By Truckers fan, I highly recommend you go see them. If you're not, if you have listened to their music but not checked them out live, they're playing incredibly well now. They're mixing up their songs. They're bringing stuff from all the albums. The energy's good. They're jamming out the end of the songs. Everything sounds fantastic. So I highly recommend you go see the Drive-By Truckers and get there early if Early James is opening, because he was a fantastic opener. That's all I got. Thanks for watching. Go see live music, people. If not, go listen to the Drive-By Truckers. Go listen to their Dirty South album, one of the best Southern rock albums ever made. That's all I got. Peace. Talk to you later.